Next, I'd like to introduce Hilary Regan from Adelaide, Australia. The book that we've been speaking about, Cosmology, Evolution, and Resurrection Hope, is jointly published by Pandora Press, which is associated with the Goshen Conference, and ATF, that's the Australasian Theological Forum. And we at CTNS have been working in partnership with Hilary and the ATF for maybe 10 years now in various different enterprises. And Hilary has something special to say to us. But I've asked Hilary to tell us about his necktie.
Well, yeah, I'll talk about the necktie first and then say a few things about the book. This tie is from Darwin, Australia. And in Darwin, there's a number of things. Not only was it the only city in Australia that was bombed by the Japanese, but of course it's named after Darwin. But in Darwin, of course, there's also an Aboriginal theological college called Noongar Theological College, which Ted has been to, and I don't think anyone else here has been to it. It's an Indigenous theological college for Indigenous students from around Australia. And next year we're involved in a publication from there, which is going to be a dictionary of scriptural and theological terms for students at that college, written by a woman who has written in English for a second language for a number of years. So this tie is from that college because they not only have theology, but they also do craft and other sort of work for the women who accompany the husbands and the families who go to that college. So that is the background of that. A bit of a word about how this book occurred in terms of it being with Pandora and with Goshen. When Bob and Ted were in Adelaide in the March of this year, we were at the airport on our way to Canberra. And Bob said, I have an idea. We've been talking about sort of other publication things. And he said, look, I've been involved in a conference in series of lectures at Goshen College, and it's going to be published by Pandora. I kept on referring to it as Pandora's Box, but it's Pandora's Press. And so then began a series of negotiations which took a number of months in working with Carl and working with the people at Goshen to see whether it was possible for us to do this book as an Australian edition with ATF Press, which we wouldn't have the rights to for North America, but they would allow us to be here. And so began this sort of process of going back and forth, and I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute. But that's how I happen to be here. But I'd like to start by reading you a letter from the chairperson of the Australasian Theological Forum. We were the Australian Theological Forum, and we had to change to become a company this year, and so it was thought that since a lot of stuff that goes on in theology in our part of the world is Australia and New Zealand, we should change the name to what's used by medical colleges and so forth to call ourselves the Australasian. But it also meant that the contacts that we have in Asia could be incorporated in that as well by referring to it as the Australasian Theological Forum. So this letter is from our chairperson, who happens to be Dominican, Reverend Dr. Tom Cassidy. And it's addressed to Bob Russell, founder and director of CTNS. Dear Bob, the Australasian Theological Forum, ATF, is honoured and proud to be associated with CTNS's 25th anniversary celebrations. CTNS, and yourself in particular, have been international leaders in the dialogue between theology and the natural sciences for many years. We congratulate you in particular, but also all on the CTNS board and all those who work for or have been linked to CTNS in its programs over the years. The ATF is a broad-based forum concerned with Christian theology in dialogue with other disciplines, which includes the dialogue between science and theology. Links between CTNS and ATF don't go back 25 years, because we were only founded in 93, but we have had a strong partnership since 1998. In that year, Ted Peters wrote in the second edition of our journal, Interface. Since then, there have been a number of conferences and meetings in Australia run by the ATF, where CTNS has been a partner and assisted by bringing CTNF staff to Australia for these events. We thank you and all at CTNS for this partnership and contribution to assist our work in the Antipodes. Indirectly, ATF has been associated with the SRCP program by publishing papers from workshops held in Australia and in Asia. In total, ATF Press, our imprint name, has published 5 books from SRCP gatherings held in the Australasian region, which are distributed all over the globe and being translated into other languages. Of the 3 ATF events held in Australia in association with CTNS, you, Bob, have participated in 2 of those gatherings. And we thank you for making that long journey across the Pacific. And it is long. It's usually about 26 hours door to door. Now, the ATF, through ATF Press, is proud and honoured to be associated with you, CTNS, Goshen College and Pandora Press with the launch of your new book. Thank you for allowing us the privilege of this involvement. The book being launched in Berkeley will be soon distributed not only from North America by Pandora Press, but by ATF all over Asia, Africa, South America and Europe, with Hilary Regan working on the translation in a number of languages. The ATF looks forward to the possibilities that lie in the future where we can collaborate as partners in meetings, conferences, lecture tours and in publishing. We're delighted that our Executive Officer, Hilary Regan, can be present to represent ATF at your 25th anniversary celebrations and be involved in the launch of your book. Thank you for inviting the ATF and Hilary. Once again, and on behalf of the whole of the ATF board and those associated with the ATF in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Taiwan, the Philippines and Indonesia, which are all places where we have partners and have published books in the science-religion discourse because of our indirect or direct contact with CTNS and SRCP, our heartiest congratulations to you in particular and to CTNS as a whole. Thank you for the work that you have done in this last 25 years and for the association with ATF since 1998. And then he finishes in Latin, ad multos annos. So,
Good.
to get on to the book. Book launches are a time of celebration, closure, and also new beginnings. Celebrations and congratulations to an editor, to an author. Closure at the end of a project for Bob and for Carl. Beginning of a period of marketing and selling of the book for Pandora Press and ourselves. It's the first book launcher we've done of our books here in the US. We've also done about 60 books and we've had them launched in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Taiwan, India, Manila, Indonesia. And publishing for us is all about new knowledge, reaching out to thousands by a book. If 100 people go to a conference, thousands will read the proceedings. Thousands more will read the reviews of a book in journals, and if it's translated into other language, you have possibilities of millions. And so for us, there's a very strong importance of research and publishing. Quoting from another religious order in the Catholic Church, which has its secondary logo, whatever, which says contemplare alistrare, handing on the fruits of one's tradition, of one's contemplation. And that's what we're doing in research, that's what we're doing in publishing. And CTNS has been involved in public service and in publishing, and this is one of the fruits of that. Academic theological publishing, as we say in our group, and one of the people on our board who's a publisher, he refers to academic religious publishing as being the bottom end of publishing. You've got small numbers, small markets and small margins. If theology is, in Latin, fides quaerum intellectum, then I like to refer as publishing as fides asperans intellectum. Faith hoping for understanding. Understanding because you hope that there's going to be an understanding between the publisher and the writer. That the publisher's going to get it right in terms of the copy editing, the typesetting, the printing and the cover design. And that ultimately the writer and the publisher are going to understand each other. But there's also the faith and hope. The faith both ways of the writer and the publisher, the copy editor, the printer, the cover design, and so forth. So, this book, we would like to congratulate Bob. And we have a bit of a tradition at the moment we congratulate our writer with a present of a bottle of wine. And of course, because Bill is the chair of CTNS and now discovering today the long association between the two of them, what better thing to bring but a Jesuit wine? But not only that, it's a very special bottle of wine because it's a bottle of vintage port. And it's a bottle of vintage port which was from 1987. And of course, any good person who knows anything about port wine realises, of course, that the grapes of that were picked in 1981, which, of course, is the 25th anniversary, which is sort of the 6 degrees of separation. But in terms of linking this with yesterday and the eschaton...
It's still full. Is it half empty?
Well, exactly. That's part of it. But whether the eschaton occurs at the end of the bottle or halfway through the bottle depends on how quickly Bob wants to drink
fast.
it.
Jesus is coming.
And of course, whilst I might say the bottle is a very... No, sorry. I might say the bottle is good. It is up to Bob to decide whether it's very good. ATF doesn't have the rights to this book in North America. So I'm very grateful to Pandora Press for allowing us to have this book here. And, of course, to Carl for allowing us to sort of be involved in the project. And to you, Bob, for the gratitude for allowing us to have this privilege and honour to be able to be associated with it. Just one other quick word in terms of faith and hope as well. There was a lot of faith and hope in terms of the negotiations between ourselves with Pandora and with Carl. It took many months. Books, we try to explain to some of our writers in Australia, might take as long to actually get from written manuscript to published form, because of the work that goes on in the background of getting it right and the negotiations that have to go on with all sorts of people. But in this case, we have been very successful. There has been a good understanding and there has been the good faith and the good hope. And in terms of just closing, the possibilities that we are looking at for translation of this book is Brazilian Portuguese with the Jesuits, Bahasa Indonesian with the Jesuits, in France with the Dominicans, in Italy, in Korea, in Chinese as well, and there might be some others along the way as well. But these are all possibilities at the moment which we are sort of looking at. So, Bob, here you are. Thank you very much. And before I finish, in terms of our academic process of sort of evaluating a book, we send it out to various people to sort of make an academic assessment of it. And I'd just like to read to you the words of one of those reviews that came back. It was wonderful to read a further explication of Bob's project on theodicy and eschatology. I have watched with great admiration as this bold initiative has taken form. This publication will represent a major public advance, both in Bob's thinking about these areas, as well as the stimulation for the field of science and religion. So, in terms of this book, as I say, we don't have the rights to this book. But,
tell us what we've got here.
But Pandora has allowed us to bring something out of the box, as it were. So, this book is at a special price for Berkeley at $15, and we have other books here which are our collection of science and religion books, which Ted has contributed to, Bob has contributed to, Nancy has contributed to, Peter Hess has contributed to, Adrian Wyatt has contributed to, and I think that's about it in the lineup. So if you buy this book for $15, you get more than just the book. You can have 3 books of any of the other 7 books there. So that's the difference.
Is that $20 or?
No, that's... No, sorry. It's, if you do it by credit card, it will be on your Australian, it won't be in Australian dollars. So, see, the cash for 15, you can have 3 of those 7 that are there, or in credit card it will come out as 20 Australian dollars, but 15 American, depending on the exchange rate of that.
Right.
So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Hillary.